Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Kern Schools Federal Credit Union, California Resources Corporation, Bakersfield West Rotary Stroop Family Foundation, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, Bakersfield City School District, and the Kern High School District, with additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.
Welcome back to Math in the Real World. Today, we're back in town exploring some of the way that a lot of the businesses here in the Bakersfield area utilize math in their businesses. And, you know, we've had a lot of wonderful opportunities to take a look at some machines in town and some previous experiences. Today, I'm pretty sure we have the heaviest of machinery we've ever worked with. Here at Affinity Truck Center, we're coming to you live north on Highway 99, and I'm talking today with Roy Peters, General Manager. Roy, thanks for having us here.
Oh, thanks for being here.
So, we're here at Affinity Truck Center. People may pass it on their way out of town coming back. Tell us a little bit about the business.
Okay, we're a heavy truck dealership, and we sell Mack and Volvo trucks, and we have three unique businesses all under the same roof. We have sales, new and used trucks. We have parts, where we sell parts to fix vehicles. And we've also got a service department where if you bring your truck in, we can fix your vehicle, much like a car dealership.
So obviously with some much bigger vehicles that you're working with, and when we say trucks, we're not simply just talking about like pickup trucks or even some of the box trucks that people might see doing deliveries for like mattresses around the town. We're talking the big boys.
Absolutely. We're talking about big commercial trucks, Class 8 semi-trucks, you know. Trucks are fun. You played with them when you were kids. They're still fun today.
So tell us a little bit about the business. How long has the company been established here in town? How long have you been running for? A little bit more.
Okay. So Affinity Truck Center has been in Fresno for over 30 years, but in Bakersfield, we're just about to hit our 5th birthday. So relatively new in the community. And again, we sell Mack and Volvo vehicles, and that's kind of what we do.
So we're here in the parts department as far as some of the sales. Kind of walk us through, because you know everything is going to be bigger as far as what we work with compared to some of the cars and vehicles that our viewers might be used to.
So this is the retail showroom. We actually carry about $1 million worth of parts, believe it or not. Big trucks, kind of big parts as well. But I mean, we've got guards that guard the grill and the front of the radiator to keep them from getting broken if you were to hit a deer. They're called deer guards, actually. We sell all kinds of straps. One of the unique things about trucks is we don't use hydraulics. We actually use a lot of air, and these are all air hoses. So the brake system, how it connects to the trailer, are all air activated. They're pneumatic and not hydraulic like on a car.
So mostly, you know, one of the more underappreciated aspects of truck management is the idea that these vehicles have to manage a tremendous amount of air to be able to operate consistently. And so a lot of the parts that you have to offer are going to help truck drivers manage that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And interesting enough, all trucks have air compressors on them that make air. And because you do need lots of air for braking and trailer braking. And a lot of other functions in the truck are all air activated. So
when we think about truck drivers as an occupation, and for a lot of drivers, you know, as their own business, right? We think of truck drivers as kind of their own independent contractors that run their own business of providing this service. Well, you know, how do you support truck drivers in the services that you provide?
Well, we offer service and we offer parts, but we also offer some technical things. We have the trucks have computers on them that will throw faults and send that to a centralized location, and we then get a copy of that fault, and we can actually send that customer to a facility that can fix it, and we can check and see if they have the parts that are the most common of that failure, and get them in and out quickly. Because these trucks run, and a lot of times they have produce and things that are perishable, it becomes valuable to keep them on the road and uptime. If you've got a bunch of meat in a trailer, you've got to get that delivered in a reasonable amount of time. So the name of the game is to keep these guys up and running best we can.
And so a tremendous opportunity to support truck drivers.
Absolutely.
And, we were talking before the show a little bit about the significance of, these specific types of trucks on everyday life. And it's something I know that you're very passionate about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trucks move everything. Everything that you touch is moved by a truck. For instance, in this community, we're big ag. And so trucks move produce out of the field to the processing centers, from the processing centers to the distribution centers, and then from the distribution centers to the store. Trucks move everything. Nothing you touch is not moved by a truck. Everything moves by truck.
We're going to come back in a little bit here at Affinity Truck Center and take a look at how different parts need different mechanisms to really look at how they impact the entire movement of the truck. We're going to play around with some of the materials and really look at what we have in store and the kinds of decisions that need to be made by truck drivers and the folks here providing service and parts about the right piece for the right truck. I'm joined right now by Master Mechanic, greatest title we've ever had on this show, Master Mechanic Bob Blanchard. Bob, thanks so much for having us here today.
Well, thank you.
So, we talk a little bit about the right part for the right truck. And one of the pieces that I think we kind of take for granted, no matter what vehicle we drive, is a speedometer. It's that device that tells us exactly how fast our vehicle is going. It's important because we want to make sure we meet the speed limit so we don't get pulled over and violate any laws. However, trucks don't just come one size fits all, so the parts don't either.
Right. So the cars and trucks both have speedometers, but they also have different sized tires. Now the tires, or the size of the tire, is what drives the speedometer. So with that being said, the smaller tire has to turn more in 1 mile than the larger tire. And we use that same example every day at work when we have to calibrate the speedometers. We got to make sure that the speedometer is correct. We don't want to be speeding or anything else.
So a speedometer bases its use off of how many turns the axle makes.
Correct.
But the speed of the axle turning is dependent on the size of the tire. So it's not as if every tire turns the same. So to kind of illustrate this, we have a couple of tires here to look at to really show what this looks like. So explain a little bit about this tire. Describe it for our audience.
This tire right here is a typical car tire. It's 27-inch in diameter.
So when we say diameter, we're talking about the distance from one side through the center to the other. So where this green piece of tape is, through the middle to the ground, that's going to be 27 inches?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, we also want to kind of illustrate one rotation of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll this tire until the green tape comes all the way back up to the top here, okay?
Okay.
So let's see how this looks.
All right.
Half a rotation and one complete rotation. So right about here, okay? From where we started on that line on the floor, this is the distance for one rotation. But this isn't the only tire we have.
That's correct.
So let's take a look at our other friend here.
So what we have right here is
Not quite a car tire.
Yeah, exactly. What we have here is a standard truck tire.
He says standard, everybody.
Standard. This is what comes on most trucks right here.
So tell us a little bit about the diameter of this wheel.
Now this tire here is 40 inches in diameter.
So the distance from here all the way to the ground through the center, that's 40 inches. Now, the first one was 27. So you would think if you're still learning about diameter and circles, well, okay, so if it's 13 inches greater in diameter, it's only going to roll about 13 inches more, so maybe about a foot. Those people may have a different vision when they see this bad boy roll out. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and move our car tire, because it's definitely going to need the space just looking at it. Here we go. See, we're only at a half rotation, and it's already right where it would be. We're still going, coming through, back up at the top. For a visual, this is way more than what a foot would be. So 13 inches, if it was just the difference in diameter, maybe it ends up right over here. But it's almost twice the distance from when we started.
That's correct.
So that's going to influence how many revolutions and how many more rotations a tire will make per mile.
Correct.
So we talk about the length that it rolled from one end to the other on one rotation. What we really looked at was the distance around the outside of this tire, the perimeter of the circle. So that's called circumference.
Right.
So when we look at the relationship between diameter and circumference, it's actually something that ancient Greek philosophers have explored and identified for thousands of years, and have identified that it's pretty much the same ratio. It's called pi. So that value is very significant when we start calculating how many rotations a tire will make per mile. And
right.
we did some of those calculations over here, I believe. So we actually broke this down, not just within a mile, but we broke it down by the inch. So many people are familiar with the fact that there's 5,280 feet per mile. If you go the next logical route, multiply that by 12, you're going to realize that there's about 63,360 inches in a mile. Now, we wanted to make sure that we were able to calculate the actual circumference. Sure, you could measure it by rolling it out, chalking it out, and finding the distance. Or you can multiply the diameter by that relationship, that ratio we talked about, pi, about 3.14. And that's how you'll get the circumference. If you're in 8th grade or beyond, you may recognize this formula as 2 pi r. So we can take that information and realize that if we divide the circumference of our tire by the number of inches in a mile, because we're going to measure that circumference in inches, we're going to figure out how many revolutions each of these tires is going to make per mile. So tell us a little bit about the difference between our 40-inch diameter tire and our 27-inch diameter tire.
Okay, the 40-inch diameter tire, when we calculate out the circumference, it comes up to 125.6 inches in circumference. That's the distance around the tire. Now, we divide 63,360 by 125.6, 504 revolutions per mile for the big tire.
So that means that for every 1 mile, that 40-inch tire is going to rotate just over 500 times in just 1 mile. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Now, a car tire that's 27 inches in diameter, so 27 times pi, we come up with an 84-inch circumference. Now, 63,360 inches per mile divided by 84, that's 754 revs per mile.
That's a pretty significant difference. That's almost half as many, let's say 50% more from the larger tile. So you're almost, let's say, 50% more revolutions per mile. That's going to have an impact on the tread of the tire, but also on the speedometer that you use.
Right.
So it's really important that you take that in consideration when you need the right gauge for the right vehicle. Bob, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
We had a chance to look at kind of some of the conversation regarding the parts and involving the speedometers. Now, let's say you have another piece and you're trying to figure out from a business perspective, that's what we're going to talk about, how much money your company's going to make off of a part that you're sold. Now, there's a difference between understanding the markup of an item and the margin of an item. So in terms of business, like what are the differences between the two?
Well, markup is based off of cost and profit, and margin is retail price. So that's the big difference. I'm more concerned about retail price. And a lot of people think markup and margin are the same exact thing, but they're really not. So we've kind of created a little math problem for you. I'm holding an EGR cooler kit in my hand, and the cost of this part is about $100. So if my cost is $100, if we're going to figure markup, we're going to take the profit, which would be $25 in this case, and we're going to divide it by the cost, right, which will end up giving us 25% markup. Now,
when you say profit, this is the amount of money that you're projecting you would like to make off of each unit sold.
That's exactly right. If I mark the part up $25 and I sell it for $125, the part I have a $100 cost in it. So you end up with a 25% markup.
So if we're thinking about like the item itself as a tape diagram, this would be the item's cost, right?
Correct.
And then this part right here would be the profit you would like to make off of that.
That's exactly
And
right.
what you're saying is that this percent of the original cost would be the markup.
Correct.
Now that's going to be different from what we see with the margin here then.
Right. Now, margin worries more about retail price. So what we have here is we're going to divide the profit by the retail price instead of the cost. So here we have the $25 profit, and we're going to divide it by the retail price, which is $125. That's the price we sold it for. And so what we get is 20%. So the margin is 20%.
So when we're talking about the retail price, we're looking at the cost plus the profit. And then we're looking at this as a relationship to the entire part here,
Absolutely.
which is the retail price.
Retail price, which is a much more, for business and the things that I look for in our business, gross margin is what is the tool that I use to look at everything.
And that's going to tell you exactly how much you're going to be able to make more accurately than simply just the markup rate.
Absolutely.
So, it really is a fascinating industry and business. Tell us a little bit about like how you got involved in it, and if people are considering getting into the trucking industry from the service perspective or the sales perspective, what Affinity does, how could they start to kind of prepare themselves for that?
Okay. First let me say, this business is a really fun business. Most people don't think about the truck industry or a truck dealership as a potential career, but it really is. It's a great career. I love what I do. I enjoy coming to work every day. We spend a lot of time together. We have a lot of fun, actually. It's a great place to work. Truck dealerships are a great place to work, and most people don't even think about them as careers. As I said earlier, trucks are fun. We grew up playing with them as kids. Trucks are fun, right? And so we have three unique businesses. We have a sales department, we have a parts department, and in the parts department, most of the people that work in the parts department started out driving as a parts driver or working in the warehouse, and then they work their way to the parts counter to be able to sell parts. So it's entry-level positions, and you kind of work your way up through. And in the service department, I would suggest if you're interested in working on vehicles, particularly commercial trucks, take classes at the local ROC and take classes in automotive and diesel technology. Bakersfield College has classes in auto and diesel. We work with all those organizations, and we take students on internship basis, and they come in, and then a lot of times we turn them into apprentices where we hire and they work here. And for instance, Bob, who was in the last segment, is one of our apprentice trainers, and he spends 2 years working with him, and next thing you know, you're a master technician. It's easy to get involved. If you're interested, we'd love to talk to you. We're always looking for good, qualified people.
General Manager Roy Peters, thanks
Thank
so much
you.
for joining us. And
Thank you.
Thank you for having us by, as we do with all of our guests. We wanted to present you with our customary Do the Math tile.
Thank you very much.